Welcome to Designed for the Creative Mind, a podcast for interior designers and creative entrepreneurs to run their business with purpose, efficiency, and passion. Because while every design is different, the process should remain the same. Prepare yourself for some good conversations with amazing guests, a dash of Jesus, and a touch of the woo-woo, and probably a swear word or two. If you're ready to stop trading your time for money and enjoy your interior design business, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Michelle Lynn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Designed for the Creative Mind. It is a business podcast for creatives and interior designers and anybody else who likes to think with their right brain. But we are talking about business today, and I'm super glad you're here because I have Susanne Mariga. She is a certified public accountant with over 2 decades of experience. Don't let that scare you, though. It's still going to be a fun conversation. She founded her firm, Mariga CPA PLLC, in 2008, and soon after became a certified profit first professional. She helps her clients design unique profit-based plans tailored to their business by employing profit first and leveraging tax strategies. She is the host of the Profit Talk podcast and author of the book, Profit First for Minority Business on Enterprises. So that is a mouthful, lady. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am super excited to have you. And congratulations on your book. That was just this year.
Thank you. Yeah, I was real excited because 1 month out of launch of the book, we actually funded 22 scholarships for girls to go to school in Zimbabwe. I don't know if folks are aware, but $1 for every book that's sold goes towards a scholarship fund that's partnered through a nonprofit organization called Hope Worldwide, where we send girls to school in Zimbabwe. So I was so excited. I think that was like, I was doing cartwheels when I found out that we had funded 22 scholarships by the end of the first month.
That is amazing. I didn't know that. Congratulations, just on so many fronts. Not only are you helping minority women and just women in general or business people, but also helping the next generation. I got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know Profit First, it is, well, tell us about it, Susanne. What is Profit First? Let's dig into that first.
Profit First is a cash management system. And for me, it was a game changer in my business. And what it's based upon is it's based upon the principle of we pay ourselves first as entrepreneurs. It's kind of like Dave Ramsey's envelope system. I know you and I had a chance to talk a little bit offline. And, in traditional business schools, one of the things that they teach is that accounting equation, that US generally accepted principles, revenue minus expenses equals profit. And it's interesting because, all of us accountants, we throw it down our clients' throat to make sure they understand it. And while that accounting equation is very, very true, it's an accounting equation that isn't really a great way to run a business, right? Because, when we're teaching our entrepreneurs to focus on this accounting equation, we're teaching them focus on revenue, sell to whoever, discount your prices, get them through the door, you'll make it up in the volume. Then we're teaching them be responsible, pay your expenses, right? And get whatever you need to run your business and you don't pay taxes, right? Then naturally profit will be something that follows. And the problem with that is it doesn't work because, a lot of times when entrepreneurs come to me, and I'm sure a lot of the creative designers are probably feeling the same way, they're wondering at the end of the year, how much do I owe in taxes? And did I even make a profit? And if I made a profit, where's the money? Right. And in fact, the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics tells us that 80% of small businesses close, right? Because they don't have cash flow and they don't have profitability.
So frightening.
And it is very, very frightening. So obviously that U.S. GAAP isn't working. And so what Profit First does is literally we create intentional profitability, and we do that through bank accounts. And what happens is you literally set up at least 5 bank accounts, right? You have an account where all the revenue comes into, and then you have an account for profit, right? Because you're going to pay your profit first. You're going to transfer a portion of that revenue into your profit account. You're going to have an account for owner's pay because yes, you are your MVP. And if you need to step out of your business, so you're going to need to hire a replacement. It's time for us entrepreneurs to start thinking like shareholders versus just doers in our business. And then of course, because you're so profitable and you got owner's pay, you're going to have a tax obligation. So get over it. There's things that we can do to minimize taxes, but they're part of life. You drive the road, you send your kids to school, part of life. So we're going to reserve for that. So you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, do I have to finance this year's taxes with last year? Like how am I going to do this? But you're going to actually put away money into your bank account for taxes. And then the last account you're going to have is an operating expense account, where literally that's the account that you're going to use in order to pay your operating expenses. And what's left over is all that gets used to fund expenses.
That makes perfect sense. And like for designers, oftentimes what we have our clients will pay our design fee. Okay. And then they prepay for their purchases. So I think that one of the things that I learned early on is that I had to have a prepaid account in addition to that. Now you could probably put it in one of those buckets because I thought I was rich. They'd give me $50,000 to go buy some furniture back in the day. And 20 of it was mine, but 30 of it was theirs to go buy. And when it was in my operating account, I was like, oh, I could spend that. And then, oh shit, I had to go and buy the furniture for the client.
Oh yeah. There's other accounts that we set up too. That's what gets more in towards the advanced profit first level, but we'll create, we call mats and subs account, or materials and account and subs account for like your subcontractors that you may use. But yeah. And what we're doing there is we're reserving that amount, right? Because you are going to have to purchase inventory for your projects, right? That you're going to have to resell. Mm-hmm. And so those direct costs need to be segregated in that mats and subs account.
Yeah. I learned that one really fast. Like, that's not my money. Just because it's in my account, actually move it out so you don't even think it's yours.
Exactly.
That is so intentional. So tell me, why did you decide to open your own business after having been, if I read your bio correctly, you were in Big Four with KPMG, you were with Arthur Andersen. So you came out of corporate and decided to start your own business. And I follow a similar path, just obviously not in Big Four, but in that respect, why? Like now that I look back, this is really hard.
It's interesting because, I love the work that I did in Big Four, and actually my last job, actually went into the corporate world when we moved down to Houston, Texas. And I was actually responsible for all their Canadian operations. So I was like flying back and forth to Toronto like every single week. And I remember that I was pregnant with my first child, my daughter, Florence. And I was probably about maybe 7-8 months pregnant at the time.
And you were flying?
Yeah, nobody asks how pregnant you are when you're on the, at least they didn't back then, And I remember sitting down in a chair and like, I wasn't like pointy pregnant. I was wide belly pregnant. And I would fight for those like seats that you can get, those one seaters, that like that you don't have to sit next to anybody. And I remember like sitting there and the airplane steward asked me to put my arm down. And I remember like sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to put my arm down? My belly is like too big. To put the arm down. And, and it hit me that my life was really, really, really going to change at that point.
Yeah.
And so, knowing that my life was going to change, knowing that I wanted to be more present for my daughter, right, which is a lot of our business owners go through that. Mm-hmm. I had to, make a decision. Do I wanted to continue to like, have my husband raise my daughter while I travel and I'm gone for weeks on end, or do something different? And so that idea of entrepreneurship really crept in my mind because, when we start our business, we have that illusion of, yeah, I can have it all. I can like be there for my daughter and I can like, have a really great firm. And, and part of that, was brought me to profit first, realizing that, just like many of you entrepreneurs, I was in that sell cycle, drop your prices, I'll make it up in value. And the problem is when you sell at the lowest cost, you get a lot of clients and you end up being busy. And the problem is,
my gosh,
you never make it up and the only person that's going to work for free is you.
And the clients are harder to work with because they're shopping for the lowest price and expecting the highest level of service. And it's like you're caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Oh yeah. It doesn't get better. It absolutely doesn't get better. And it was sad because Michelle, I remember sitting down at a dinner table, my husband was there and he was holding our daughter and he was like, hey, we got to have a conversation. And, you're married, Michelle, and, whenever husbands say you got to have a conversation,
It's like,
something not good is about to happen. And I remember him telling me, he goes, honey, you're going to be better off if you just get a job. And he was absolutely right, because at my last job, I had the 401k, I had the steady salary. I was off on weekends, Fridays, I had half days off. And, I was working all the time because you do work, especially when you're the lowest cost provider, you work all the time.
Yes.
And had nothing to show for. And it really wasn't until I implemented Profit First that I really started to pivot my business.
No kidding. And coming from an individual with your background and professional credentials, it's interesting to hear that because there's so many designers and so many creatives who just think that there's something wrong with them. And it's not. It's just this running a small business is a bitch. Pardon me. I swear, I love Jesus, but I swear a little bit.
It's okay. And you're right. It's absolutely psychological and biological, right? We're psychologically and biologically programmed to spend everything that we have. We're efficient creatures, something called Parkinson's law. And, I always say it's kind of like dieting. One of the first things they tell you when you go on a diet is use smaller plates. And they're telling you smaller plates because you're going to eat less food, right? And that's exactly how it is in business, right? When you have small plates or bank accounts that are designated for certain purposes, you're going to still consume as much, right? But you're going to consume less amount because only a less amount is going to be available to you to spend, right? Because you've separated the money out into the bank accounts. And it's interesting because, as a CPA, I work with a wide variety of clients. And, when the economy is great, I'm going to go back to 2019 and everything is like, going to be the same tomorrow. My entrepreneurs are coming to me like, hey, Susanne, I'm going to get this bigger office space next to me. And I don't really need it. But right now, my neighbor's moving out. I can go ahead and move in there. And when I need it, it's going to be there versus it's going to be off the market for years before I can get the space again. Or they're like, hey, Susanne, I need a tax write-off. Can I go ahead and get this Mercedes, under my business, Suzanne? Or they're asking me questions like, hey, Suzanne, you know what? I need to take a business trip for continuing ed. And it happens to be in this place called Bora Bora. Can I get that at a write-off? And, and during 2020, they were asking me different questions. They're like, hey, Suzanne, what loyal sidekick can I keep right now? How can I get rid of this office space, right? And go virtually. And better yet, what government subsidies are out there? What PPP loans are out there? What EIDL loans? Those are the questions they were asking me when things were scarce. And again, it's supply and demand, right? It's our human nature to use everything that we have, whether we're an accountant or a designer, we're programmed to literally use everything that we have.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better. Because I spent way too much on a runner for my stairs the other day. But honey, it's natural. It's biological.
And we need it. Who has enough runners, right?
Exactly. It was really, really pretty.
Y'all, this podcast episode was made possible in part by Foyer, a lightning fast interior design software that creates photorealistic renderings. I'm not kidding. You can barely tell that it's not a real room. So why leave your beautiful designs up to the imagination of your client when you can show them what their space is going to look like? You will sign more clients and get more approvals with this software. It's powered by artificial intelligence, and I'll vouch for its ease because if I can do it, anybody can, because y'all know that my design team are the ones who do all the work. Find them in the show notes.
So you started your business literally so that you could have more quality time. That didn't actually happen until you implemented the methodology behind Profit First. And Profit First, for those of you who don't know, while it is a system to manage your money, it's a book written by Mike Michalowicz. And it's actually a very interesting, he's funny. Like his writing style is very funny. And he has some other books as well. But it's a very interesting way to change your perspective of all of the money coming in and going out from your design firm or from your small business. So once you did that, now how old is Florence now?
She's turning 14 this month.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know. I know.
Holy
She's already
moly.
asking me for a birthday party. I'm like, it's COVID, girl.
Can you Zoom a birthday party? It's not quite the same when you're watching people on the bounce house. That is funny. So obviously this has worked for you 14 years later, or maybe 13 years later, once you got rolling. Oh, that's exciting. That's very exciting. So as a individual who helps small business owners, what do you find, what are the mistakes that entrepreneurs make in managing their finances?
I think the first mistake that they make is, they're running their business without intention, right? They're caught on the wheel and they're on this spin and they can't get off the wheel because, they're doing the American dream. They're selling, paying their expenses, keeping their debt down, if they're lucky, and they can't get off. They can't get off the cycle because that equation keeps you on that cycle. So first of all, it's deciding what's important to you. What does winning really look like for you? And how do we create those results that really get to that win, right? And in Profit First, we have done a study of what healthy companies look like. And there's a certain percentage that is typically allocated for profit of your revenue, tax, owner's pay, and a percentage that makes up your operating expenses. And, staying within those guidelines, a lot of times will help you stay on that. So first of all, just being intentional. And the other mistake that I say, is once they know the good that they're supposed to do, it's the getting started, right? It's that, oh my gosh, I just feel so intimidated, from just starting. And, it's the trade-off between knowing the right you should do and not getting started. It just eats you up alive, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's just like Mark Twain says, if you need to eat a frog, do it first thing in the morning. If you eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first. There's no making it going away. It's the small actions over time that gives you the results, right? It's the compounding interest that you're going to earn, or compounding returns that you're going to get by just starting. You'll underestimate what you're going to do. You're going to overestimate what you're going to do in a year, underestimate what you're going to do in a decade. And so just get started, and create that life of your dream.
Oh, I love that. And eat the frog first thing in the morning. It's like working out. I need to get my booty up and working out so that it is done. Otherwise I sit there and find so many other reasons not to do it. And it's the same thing for me, when I've gotten much more comfortable talking about money in my business. It used to give me huge anxiety because it was the thing that I couldn't control. And it was the thing that was like, quote unquote, life or death for business. And knowing now a little bit more and still learning, it just gives you a level of freedom and a bit of control back. Not that I'm the best at it. I mean, first, I'll be the first to admit that managing my money is very difficult and it has to be very intentional. And I even set aside time on Fridays. It's Financial Friday. And I'll, half the time I skip it. I'm like, oh no, I can do that next week. And then, oh shit, I didn't pay that bill and there's a late fee. So just keeping up with it, I think is such a important part. It's discipline. And we all avoid what we don't want to do.
And I like that idea too, Financial Friday. That's neat that you actually have a day and a name set up for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, Marketing Mondays, Financial Fridays. I've got it all in my head. It's just a matter of executing it.
I love it.
Yeah. So for those of you who are who I've coached or in my program and so forth, they all know. I have great ideas, but it comes and goes in waves. Like just like exercising, the discipline may be really high for a year and then it falls off for 3 or 4 months. So just giving ourselves the grace to not be perfect.
Exactly. And I think you said something really key too, Michelle. The reason why your audience is able to be successful is they have a coach like you, right? That's keeping them accountable, that's answering questions, that's helping them think through processes. When you have a partner or a coach that can help you implement and just stay on top of it, stay disciplined, sometimes that's the thing that you need with it. And then of course the process, and then the process too, right? The process of actually moving the money, right?
Which is what I was going to ask you. That's like a perfect segue. And no, that wasn't actually set up, but tell me and tell our audience. And then at the end, we'll list where people can find you. But how do you help small businesses?
Well, I am a certified public accountant by background. I've been a CPA for goodness, I don't even tell people anymore, like more than 20 years. I love Miss Clairol. And so it works out being a really great combination. So, a lot of times when clients will come to us, they come to us because they have a cash flow problem, right? Like 80% of the businesses in the world. And using the profit first methodology, we will help them create a system to create intentional profitability, get to something called target allocation percentages, and get them on payroll. And a lot of times it's not very uncommon for our clients to actually transition to a high net worth status. So it becomes what started as a cash flow problem becomes a tax problem. And luckily at the core of it, I'm also a certified tax coach. So I specialize in high net worth taxation and actually talk about that in my book, some of the high net worth tax strategies that I use with my clients. And, when you go to your normal accountant, one of the first things they tell you is, if you need to get your taxes down is, what can you buy at the end of the year? Can you get another filing cabinet, right? Buy another couch for your designers out there. Prepay for that inventory. Those are the things that most accountants will tell you. And I will never tell you that. I mean, it actually gives me goosebumps because it keeps people on that cycle. Instead, what's going to happen is we're going to look for ways for you to get that tax deduction while not necessarily increasing your expenses. So let's look at something like a 401k where you can maybe put away $56,000 a year, right? And you're getting a deduction, you're getting an expense, right, on your P&L, but you're building your wealth, right? You're kicking that can towards another day. And if you've got employees, let's look at what your goals are. One of the things that's important in Profit First is, the longer your employees stay with you, guess what happens? The better they get at their job, the more efficient that they get. And so longevity is important. So maybe we create a plan where they got to stay with you for a year or so before they can actually start to participate in the plan. Maybe they got to stay with you for 6 years before they fully vest in the plan. Let's get away from some of the safe harbors and let's create plans that are designed to really work with the intentions of the business. And again, I'm creating a tax deduction, but again, I'm kicking the can because I'm getting higher profits because my employees getting better. And if they leave me before they fully vest, guess what? I just funded my own retirement account.
Those are the nuances that us Joes on the street have no understanding of. And knowing that there's people like you out there to help, I just think that is one more tool in our toolbox as entrepreneurs to make our dreams into that reality. Because correct me if I'm wrong, cash flow, when you have money in the bank, doesn't mean you're profitable.
Yeah, you can have money in your bank because of a loan, right?
Yeah.
You have money in your bank temporarily because you got inventory that you got to buy for a client.
Yes, I speak from experience there. And just knowing that there's somebody like you. So stay tuned, y'all. What we're going to do is at the end of our conversation today, Suzanne's going to let you know where you can find her. And then we'll have all of it in the show notes too, because I think that you're going to want to make sure that you stay in touch with her and follow her podcast, Profit Talk, and pick up her book, Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises. And are you still, those sales of the book, was that just for the month that goes to the scholarship, or is that ongoing?
No, it's a permanent endowment that we set up with the book. When I wrote the book, it was, let's change legacies. Let's uproot communities, give people opportunities that would not have opportunities by educating everyone. And I said, let's take it further. And, how can we make this an even bigger deal? And, we picked Zimbabwe, and we specifically picked sending young girls to school because, in a country like Zimbabwe, the government traditionally has paid for people to go to college. But the interesting thing is people don't make it to college because they have to pay for that elementary, primary school and secondary school. And if a parent has that choice of sending a boy to school or a girl because of finances, they're going to naturally pick the boy. Right. And so the girl, is usually, unfortunately, has to get married one day in order to be supported. And, there's things like polygamy that happen. And so I said, what happens if we educate young girls? What happens if we give them an education? Because you can't tell a doctor that she has to be the second wife of any man. So that is the reason why we did what we did.
Yeah. And who rules the world?
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is just going to be the next generation. So that is just amazing. So for those of you who want to go out and buy the book, just think about the long-term impact that you're supporting as well as your own future.
Let me interrupt myself to take a quick moment to thank Satinoff Insurance Agency for sponsoring this episode of the Designed for the Creative Mind podcast. Their support and understanding of the interior design, decorating, and home staging industries is unrivaled. Satinoff understands what our businesses do, and they provide insurance that lets me sleep at night. Yep, this is the firm that I use, and they will do the same for your sleep habits and your business too. They're more than an insurance agency, they're an extension of my business. They take care of the worry because they are the experts, which allows me and my team breathing room to do what we do best, design beautiful spaces. You can find their contact information below in the show notes. Give them a call today.
Okay. I could literally sit here and talk to you about all of this for like another 2 hours because this is just so interesting to me. But in the interest of time for our audience and for you, and maybe we'll have you back and we'll continue the conversation. The next segment is rapid fire. So it's basically just a quick Q&A. It's a little bit of fun so that the audience can get to know you on a different level than just the CPA. Nothing's off the table.
All right, let's do it.
So let's see what comes up today. Okay, so what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I actually wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up.
Did you?
I did. And then when I went to college, I took a phlebotomy class, which is like, how to draw blood.
Yeah.
And like, nobody wanted to let me draw because like, I always hurt people. Like I would put the needle in people's vein and no blood would come out.
You have to go digging around like, and they'd be bruised.
I said, some people aren't meant for that. and I learned, my dad had an accounting firm growing up. So I had interned for him, learned how to do some of the taxes with him. And I said, you know what? I can switch majors and party more, study less, and my grades would improve significantly.
That's kind of like what you're teaching now, just in a completely different format. Have more fun, make more money.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. So what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
It's butter pecan.
Oh, yum. Now I'm getting hungry. Last movie you watched?
Last movie that I watched, it was called the Moratorium. It's the one that has Jodie Foster in it. It's based upon a country in Africa. It was 9/11. Very, very good. Very intense.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. Might have to take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Dream travel destination?
Oh, I want to go to Hawaii next.
I haven't been there either. Maybe we'll go and figure out how we can write it off on our taxes.
Let's do that. They got classes there, amazing classes. And it's in the United States.
There we go. Oh, when was the last time you took a nap, Susanne?
Oh gosh. Probably on the airplane when I was supposed to be reading for Propaganda.
Cake or pie?
Cake. Definitely cake.
Introvert or extrovert?
I love those quiet moments. I'm going to say introvert.
Mm-hmm. And what is your favorite music genre?
Oh, that's a good one. I like so many things. I really like so many things.
Yeah.
I really, really like so many things. I call it Mad Woman one. Who's that lady? She's a singer. She sings Hello, Adele.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think she's coming out with a new album is what I read.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that deep music,
Yeah, it's moody.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the same way. If you look at my Pandora list, it is all over the place. I love jazz. I love 80s country. Of course, I have Coco Melon and Baby Shark on my Pandora.
Baby Shark is a really good one.
Somehow my kid got it onto my Pandora and I have no idea how. I'm going to blame it on Alexa. Okay, so last one. If you could have dinner with anybody, past or present, who would you invite?
I'm going to say President Obama. I want to pick his brain.
Yeah. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would
Just to really drill down. that and the perspective of the person in the shoes is always so completely different than the perspective that we get.
Exactly.
Or are given to us. I love that. I love that. Maybe we could do that in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. We go to Hawaii to interview him.
I'm inviting myself over too. I'll bring some really good wine. All right. Well, Susanne, thank you so much for being here. And I know that there's so much that goes into your topic that to try to cover it in 30 minutes on a podcast is virtually impossible. So do tell the audience how or where they can find you.
Well, we have a free masterclass where we teach the ins and outs of Profit First. And it's about a week long and we don't hold back. If you got questions, bring them in there. But it's called if you go on Facebook, it's called the Profit First Masterclass with Susanne Mariga. Now you have to make sure it says with Susanne Mariga because there's a lot of bootleg ones out there and I can't guarantee what kind of information you're going to get, but Profit First Masterclass with Susanne Mariga will get you into our masterclass.
Oh, I need to get my booty over there. So is that the best place to find you? And then everything kind of streams out from there?
It is. We do have the Profit Talk podcast and my book is also, it was a bestseller. It was also received the Publishers Weekly Award. So definitely it was editor's pick for Publishers Weekly. So you can check that out also.
That
was written with Mike Michalowicz. Thank you. It was. Yeah. Mike Michalowicz and I, it was a joint venture.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just knew it was badass. I didn't realize that you collaborated with them.
Yeah. It's part of the Profit First family. It's part of the Profit First family. They have different ones. They have it for contractors, e-commerce. And that was with minority business enterprises, which is good for anybody, whether you're a minority or not.
Absolutely. But it's nice to just have that inclusion as well, just to make sure that everybody feels like they get a big hug.
Yeah. Exactly. Micro gems. There's one for everybody in that family of books.
That's really something to be proud of. Good for you.
Thank you.
Well, for those of you who can benefit from even more resources surrounding the business of running your interior design business, join the growing community on my Facebook's private group. It's called the Interior Designers Business Launchpad. And again, there's a couple of bootleg business launchpads out there for interior designers, but mine is on Facebook. And if you're listening to this podcast, wherever you are, please don't forget to leave a review. All right, Susanne, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me.
Hey, y'all. If you love the show and find it useful, I would really appreciate it if you would share with your friends and followers. And if you like what you're hearing, want to put a face with a name, and get even more business advice, then join me in my Facebook group, the Interior Designers Business Launchpad. Yeah, I know, it's Facebook. But just come on in for the training and then leave without scrolling your feed. It's fun. I promise you'll enjoy it. And finally, I hear it's good for business to get ratings on your podcasts. So please drop yours on whatever platform you use to listen to this. We're all about community over competition. So let's work on elevating our industry one designer at a time. See you next time.